Hello, Sarah. Welcome. How are you today?
Really well, thanks, Rhiannon. How are you?
Good. Thank you for making time for us today. Just before I jump right into the interview, I just wanted to introduce you to our community. So, Sarah Rusbatch is a mama, a speaker, a best-selling author of Beyond Booze, an amazing book that all mamas should read. Award-winning health and wellbeing coach, and also an accredited grey area drinking coach too, amongst other things I know. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Sarah, I know we'll get into your alcohol journey a little bit into the interview, but just to begin with, I'd love to hear your take on mum's wellbeing and the link to child wellbeing. I know that it's something that you're passionate about as well. As a teacher and myself, I saw the direct impact of mum's wellbeing and how it impacted a child's happiness and learning in the classroom. I'd love to hear your take on what mum's wellbeing means to you and on child development.
Yeah. So, because I work very much in the alcohol space, I do have that alcohol lens on it, but I think it's more broader than that. So we know that if a child grows up with a mother who has alcohol use disorder, they are 4 times more likely to develop it themselves. And alcohol use disorder does not mean we're talking about someone who's a full-on alcoholic. It could be someone, alcohol use disorder is defined as 14 or more units of alcohol per week. And so even every time our kids see us say, oh, I'm stressed, I've had a hard day, and reaching for a wine, our kids are picking up on what we're doing all the time. And so it's really important, my well-being, what I've reflected on in my journey of removing alcohol and wanting to show up as the best mum that I could be, was how can I really model healthy, true self-care to my daughter? And I will always come back to saying that when I look after me, I am showing her how to look after her, because I don't want her growing up to believe that she's got to be the one doing everything for everybody else and running herself ragged and doing all those things. So I make sure that I take time for me, because I know that the message that she's getting is it's okay for mum to look after herself, and mum needs time to herself as well.
Mm. Oh, I love that. I think that, yeah, the modeling is key, isn't it? It's not what you say, it's what you do. They're watching, they're absorbing, and yeah, definitely. And I think the self-soothing or the coping strategies, they're watching. Are we using healthy ones or negatively impacting ones?
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. That's amazing. I do think it's powerful. I just wanted to also, before we go into you sharing some of your self-care practices and tools that you use personally to stay on track and to keep you well and healthy, I just wanted to quote one of the quotes in your book that I absolutely loved. And it's, the goal isn't to be sober, it's to love yourself so much that you don't need to drink. I mean,
Yeah.
just so powerful. It's brilliant, and what a self-love journey you've been on. And yeah, just tell me a little bit about your self-care practices, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So self-care for me is it's looking after my body. And so it's making sure I get enough sleep. It's exercising every day and getting time outside every single day. It is recognizing and checking in on myself. How am I doing? How do I feel? What do I need right now? And taking that time for myself when I need to. It is having a bubble bath on, like that to me is true self-care, like getting into a
Mm.
bubble bath. I love a bath with my favorite book and some beautiful bubbles and some oils and some meditation music, like candle. Like that to me is, it's available all the time and it's free, and it's something that I can do when I notice my nervous system starting to become dysregulated. I'm a Pisces, I'm a true water baby, so for me it's being in that bath, or again being by the ocean, going for a Sunday morning walk with my daughter and getting down to the ocean with the dog as well and having a swim. Like all of that is true self-care to me.
Mm. Oh, I love that. Did it just mute a little bit? Are you muted? I missed the last little bit that you said, Sarah.
Sorry.
That's okay. I just missed the last couple of words. It's okay. I heard most of what you said. The outdoors, the time, scheduling time and space for the bath. I love that you're a Pisces and water's your thing. I love that. I think that just prioritizing you and whatever that looks like and nurtures you and feels good, as you said, feeling good, prioritizing, giving space to regulate, as you said. I love that so much. Sarah, journey with alcohol has been an interesting one, to say the least. And I love how you talk about, you know, the evolution and the feelings that also accompany it, from self-kindness to shame, and how it's evolved over the last, you know, years. I'd love to hear a bit about how about your journey, as well as the feelings, and how you are kind to yourself and have been on that journey as well.
So I started drinking at the age of 14, and I definitely developed that dysfunctional relationship with alcohol over the years. I never described myself as an alcoholic, but I was definitely using alcohol as a way to self-soothe. I was using it as a way to switch off. It was my reward. It was my relaxant. I did it to have fun. And alcohol was very present in my life for many, many years. But after I hit 40, I definitely started to notice the negative impact of my drinking. I started noticing that every time I drank, I wouldn't sleep very well. I would often wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, and then that would be filled with self-loathing. Oh, you said you weren't going to drink last night. I can't believe you've had too much to drink. And here you are again, tossing and turning, can't get back to sleep. You've got to get up in 2 hours. You've got a meeting all day. And this spiraling negative feedback, and this way that I spoke to myself.
Mm.
And then I noticed, as a result of that, my anxiety was starting to increase. I felt tired, lethargic. I wasn't showing up as the mum I wanted to be. I wasn't showing up as the person I wanted to be, like in all ways. And so back in 2017, I decided to take a break from alcohol. And it was incredible for me to notice the changes that came about from taking that break, and how much I noticed my sleep improved. And with that improvement in sleep comes increased energy, which comes increased motivation, more mental clarity, more confidence. The way I spoke to myself became so much softer and so much kinder. And I got to the end of that 3 months. I did 100 days, and I was like, wow, okay, I'm going to go back to drinking, but now I'm going to just be a moderate drinker and just drink every now and then. But it doesn't work like that. And when I did go back to drinking, I very quickly started drinking a lot again. And so eventually in 2019, I made that decision to remove alcohol from my life. And honestly, I've never looked back. And the transformation that has happened for me over the last 5 years has been nothing short of life-changing, and all down to that one decision to remove alcohol from my life.
Mm. Oh, that's brilliant. So brilliant, Sarah. I think it's amazing. I love that you tried like the 100 days and just starting there, beginning with like, I'm going to do this for a bit to see how it feels. And then also um, going, you know what, I can do this, seeing that mental clarity, seeing that that beautiful yeah, energy, mental clarity, less anxiety. I mean, that's just brilliant. The fact that you had that in that initial time, amazing. And then and then not only that, then you said, you know what, actually I can't, like I went back, couldn't moderate. I think that that's something that's a bit tricky then. And I want you to just go into it. What about the people that feel like they can moderate after? Like, so you went back to doing some binge, I suppose, and then back and forth for a little bit. What about like, and is that the gray area drinking? Is that sort of, talk to me about that, not being able to moderate afterwards, and because some people might say they can afterwards. Talk to me about that a little bit more, Sarah.
So I haven't met anyone who's been able to moderate after taking a break from alcohol who was in that grey area. So that's the whole point of what we talk about with grey area drinking, is when we've passed the point of being a take it or leave it drinker, we can't go back to being a take it or leave it drinker. And so we might fight to moderate, and we might be able to every now and then or at the start, but it very, very quickly can really build back up again to that level of drinking where we were before. And so for many people that I work with, they find that actually taking that break, getting that information around, well, what's my life like without alcohol? How do I feel without alcohol? And when they go down that path, they realize, actually, my life is better in so many ways when I make that decision to remove alcohol.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And I think that the culture in Australia is so alcohol focused that, and as you said, you started young, I started young too, and it was just around me. So it sort of seemed quite normal and natural. And then you're socializing, and it's just sort of, you get swept up. And then in the school, when you've got children, it becomes a bit more like that. you're around other mums and you sort of feel a little bit like the black sheep that doesn't want the drink. But then as I've been on and off as well, I had a year off 7 years ago, and I do drink occasionally, but it's definitely I might not one day, but it definitely on the way to that. And friends, I find that my group is around that is around me are really low drinkers or don't drink as well. So I think you do gravitate towards that, the people that are like-minded as well. But those people that are still got little ones, what advice do you have for those mums that are still in that, grind and like just making it through and just really relying on that 5 p.m. drink?
I think we've got to look at why we are reliant on it. I think, it's mummy wine culture is very pervasive in the Australian culture, and we are constantly being sold that alcohol is a relaxant and a reward and a way to cope with being a mum. But we've got to remember in 2019, the Lancet Medical Journal officially named alcohol as a level 1 carcinogen and placed it in the same category as tobacco in terms of its health risks for causing cancer. And I got to the point where I said, is it actually self-care and a reward to put a level 1 carcinogen into my body as a form of self-care? And so it's again really starting to think about, why do I need this what is a toxin to the human body? Why am I relying on it so much, and what could I do instead? And so for me, that was a few different options that I started to throw in terms of making sure that I was managing my nervous system through the day, that I was delegating, that I was asking for help, that I was making sure to take time for myself. I used alcohol-free drinks every now and then, and I made sure I had things that I looked forward to that were just for me, even if it was the smallest thing, like my bubble bath, like a meditation session, like being able to snuggle up with my daughter and do reading together of the evening, actually looking for the joy and the benefit in what we get, instead of just only focusing on when can I have that next drink.
I love that so much. I think you've made a really good point. And I know I heard you speak about sometimes in the beginning when you were getting sober and staying sober, that you went for a walk or a run and you moved your body because you got the same hit. I don't know if it was oxytocin or dopamine, but that gave you the same feeling. And so that was a really great healthy strategy in that interim period. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I talk a lot about this in the book, about what we need to add in to rebuild our neurotransmitters when we take alcohol out.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And I know recently you also spoke about menopause and alcohol, and I'm in that phase now. I'm only 44, but it's not unusual to be there perimenopause for maybe 8 years before that. But the way that alcohol impacts people that are in that period is different. And I've definitely noticed that too. So again, I'm like really minimally drinking and probably one day will not drink at all, because I did notice that. And when you said that the estrogen, where you are in the cycle, impacts how it's absorbed, it was so interesting and fascinating. It's not talked about a lot, Sarah. So do you just want to mention a little bit about what you know about menopause and alcohol?
So as a woman's aging, from her late 30s onwards, our liver volume actually starts to shrink. So our ability to metabolize and break down and remove alcohol, which is a toxin to the body, becomes more challenging. And we also produce less of an enzyme called ALDH, alcohol dehydrogenase, which is the enzyme that breaks down and removes alcohol as well. So because we have less of this, it means more alcohol enters our bloodstream, and we start to feel the physical impact of alcohol more often. Alcohol causes our body temperature to rise, so it will play a big contributing factor to increased hot sweats. And it also causes an increase in anxiety and impacts our sleep even more. So it's ironic that middle-aged women are the only demographic in Australia where alcohol use is going up and not down, and yet middle-aged women are it's the worst category of people to be consuming alcohol at this stage in our lives, because of the impact it will have on our menopause symptoms, on our increased risk of breast cancer, and the increased risks of the other health conditions that come from alcohol.
Yeah. So I mean, the research is clear, absolutely. And so not only is it physically hurting us, but that emotional impact on our family, like not having energy the next day, maybe being a bit more grumpy with ourselves and our children, our loved ones, has a negative ripple effect for sure. So I love you sharing that with us, because I don't think that that's a widely known fact, or facts. So I appreciate you sharing that with us, Sarah. Just before I ask you the last couple of questions, I just wanted to mention or ask you about a role of coaches you're a coach yourself. I'm a coach too. I know the role of coaches in my life and you know, supporting along that journey. Have you had coaches on and off, and the power of them in your life as a coach as well? Can you share that with us, please?
Absolutely. I've had a lot of coaches in my life over the years. I've had, I call her my spiritual coach. So I have someone who helps me really, you know, keep that self-connection, build that self-connection, be able to lean more into trusting my intuition, and really getting to know myself better. I've worked with coaches who have supported me with nutrition and fitness, with a business coach. So I believe that having a personal cheerleader that is always supporting you to reach your goals is one of the, you know, such a privilege and such a luxury to be able to add into your life.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for that, because I think sometimes people might misinterpret, if you're a coach, you don't need one. But I think the more like support and cheering on, and yeah, as you said, accountability as well, I think that makes a difference to sustaining your goals and keeping on track, and also surrounding yourself with like-minded people as well, and that are on that mission to live their best, most fullest, healthiest life. Oh, it's been an amazing chat with you, Sarah. I just want to see what you've been working on. What are you excited about at the moment? And yeah, what's coming up for you at the moment?
So my book has just come out, so I'm still very busy doing lots of podcast interviews. I'm speaking on stage at the Every Woman Expo in Perth. I'm being flown up to a couple of mining companies who've invited me to come and talk about grey area drinking. And so there's a lot going on in my world, but for any of your listeners who are curious about changing their relationship with alcohol, please do, you know, feel free to reach out to me, get a copy of my book, Beyond Booze, and just be curious, because people often think that removing alcohol is a punishment. It means that we're going to have a less than life. And all I'm here to say is removing alcohol is the greatest gift I've ever given myself. I feel like I'm aging backwards. My life is so much more, I have so much energy. I'm so much more present with my kids. I'm so much more in tune with myself. And I have more fun and more interests in my life now than I ever did when I was drinking.
Mm. Oh, I love that so much. I love that. That's just perfectly said. Where can people connect with you, Sarah?
So my website is sarahrusbatch.com. I'm very present on Instagram, which is at Sarah Rusbatch, and I have a free Facebook community called the Women's Wellbeing Collective.
Fantastic. I highly recommend your book. It's an amazing read. It's an eye-opener, but it also it's so steeped in research and data. I think it's just every person should get a copy, and one for their friends. I want to acknowledge you for the journey, for being so open about your evolving health journey, and where you're at. And I think you're just such the epitome of health, and why putting yourself first and looking after you and the ripple effect it has in the family, your family's life, is yeah, a credit to you. And thank you so much for being here today. It's been an honor and a pleasure and a privilege chatting with you, Sarah.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.